And welcome, everybody. Hands-on Apologetics. You have entered into Virgin Most Powerful's Apologetics Dojo. And welcome back, everybody. We are chatting with Dr. Douglas Beaumont about God talk, God's attributes, how it's many very popular academics in the world, their description of the divine attributes ultimately leads to heterodox opinions down the road if you just follow their logical path. And Dr. Beaumont, I think you kind of already pointed out, I think the direction you're going to go is when we talk about God, we can't nail him down with the precision of like analytic philosophy because God's wholly other, so we have to talk about God in a different way rather than as if we would talk about some object in creation.
That's right. I've got a great example that I'm going to steal from my friend Stephen Bullivant.
Okay.
Give him a little shout out. He wrote this great book called The Trinity: How Not to Be a Heretic. Strongly recommend it. It's fantastic, and he's a great thinker. But he points out in his section in that book about how we talk about God. He gives this great example that, and I may be butchering this a little bit, but imagine if you grew up and lived your whole life in a town where McDonald's was the only restaurant. It was the only food you could eat, just McDonald's 24 hours a day. You would eventually develop a vocabulary of food based on your experience of McDonald's. So when someone talks about meat, you'd think of a quarter pounder. When someone talks about a potato, you'd think of a French fry, this sort of thing. Now imagine if one day somebody from another town came and took you on a road trip to another city that had an Outback steakhouse. All right. And so they order you up a steak and potato. You start eating it, you're crying, the deliciousness. When you go back to your town full of people that have only ever experienced McDonald's, and you try to explain what it was like eating at the Outback Steakhouse, the trouble is every single word you use is going to call to their mind McDonald's.
Yeah.
When you say, oh yeah, I had this amazing steak. Oh, I know what steak is. I've had a quarter pounder. And I had this incredible stuffed potato. No, yeah, I know what you mean. I've had a French fry. So what would you do there? You don't have any additional words in your vocabulary that transcend McDonald's because that's the only experience anyone's ever had. So what you start doing is you say things like, well, it was like a super quarter pounder. It was like an infinite French fry. And these words don't make any sense, of course, to the people that are hearing you, because all they can really do is make the French fry bigger, or make the quarter pounder more quarter poundery. They're really not touching the essence of the steak and potato that you had at Outback.
Yeah.
And so while the things you're saying aren't false, because it really is like a super hamburger or something like that, you're definitely not actually getting to the essence of the thing.
Yeah, boy, yeah, that is so well said, because there really is no one-to-one correspondence with God. I love that McDonald's analogy. Now you got me thinking hamburgers.
Yeah, get Stephen's book. It's fantastic. It's very fun. It's actually the most enjoyable book on the Trinity I've ever read. It's very accessible. He uses hilarious examples and is extremely clear. So anybody, if you don't have any other books on the Trinity, get that one.
Yeah, very good. But, and you're right, because what they're doing is they're playing into the non-believer's game where they're trying to use imagination to imagine God. But the problem with imagination is everything we can imagine is tied to our senses, what we see,
right.
Hear, taste, touch, feel. So you can never actually imagine God, because the best you can do is imagine something in creation that's just blown up, like you said, to infinite size.
Right. Yeah, so you take things like omniscience. Okay, God knows everything. The way we know things